Hello everyone, my name is Silverius, and I'll be telling you all about our statue of Chief Crowfoot here. Chief Crowfoot was a head chief of the Niitsitapi, as well as a signatory of Treaty Number 7. The Niitsitapi, or in English, the Blackfoot Confederacy, is a government or alliance of several First Nations found here in the province of Alberta. It's very similar to how a country might have several provinces, states, and territories. The Blackfoot Confederacy is made up of the Kainai, or Blood Nation, the Siksika, or Blackfoot Nation, and the Piikani, or the Northern and Southern Pagan Nations. And on Chief Crowfoot's statue, you can see several items that are very important to traditional Niitsitapi ways of life. So in his left arm there, he is holding a pipe bag, which likely would have held a pipe and a stem, as well as a little bag of tobacco. This is because in Niitsitapi culture, it's a very common practice, both historically and today, to exchange a small gift the very first time you meet someone. Just like how you might shake hands the very first time you meet someone. So the fact that we see Chief Crowfoot with his pipe bag likely shows that he was welcoming to and willing to work with new people. And because his statue is here in the Alberta Legislature Rotunda, it shows that the building and the people who work here are also welcoming to and willing to work with new people. In his right arm there, he's holding a riding crop. This is because horses in traditional Niitsitapi culture are a sign of wealth and status. And as an older man, Chief Crowfoot held very high status in his nation, owning several hundred horses at once. And it was this status, as well as some of his diplomatic qualities as a person, that eventually led him to becoming one of the head chiefs of his people. This is a little bit in contrast to his life as a younger man. As a younger man, we know Chief Crowfoot as a very intelligent and brave warrior. By the time he was 20 years old, he had fought in 19 battles and had gained several injuries and honors that helped establish that prestige later on in life. And it was this mix of qualities, it was the fact that he was both a warrior and a diplomat, that eventually led him to becoming one of the head chiefs of his people and persuading them to take Treaty Number 7. Speaking of Treaty 7, in the center of his chest there, we can see Crowfoot wearing a treaty medal. This was given to him when he decided to mark Treaty 7. And Treaty 7 is one of the 3 major treaties found throughout the province of Alberta, the other 2 being Treaty 8 in northern Alberta and Treaty Number 6 right here in central Alberta, which includes the land the legislature building is built on. Now, at the time of their signing, there was a lot of reluctance and hesitancy from a bunch of different First Nations chiefs about whether or not they thought it was a good idea to take treaty. Chief Crowfoot decided to take treaty for a variety of reasons. One of those being the fact that the bison, which was a primary and traditional food source for the Niitsitapi, was gradually going extinct. Also, American traders were threatening traditional Niitsitapi ways of life by introducing things like whiskey and repeating rifles into their culture. But a few years before marking Treaty 7, Chief Crowfoot met and became friends with a man named James McLeod, who was an assistant commissioner for the Northwest Mounted Police. James McLeod, as well as a few other officers from the Northwest Mounted Police, helped the Niitsitapi chase those American traders back to the United States. And so, it was Crowfoot's good feelings towards the Northwest Mounted Police and the fact that he knew his world was gradually changing that led him to ultimately take Treaty 7 and convince his fellow head chiefs to do the same. The fact that we have Chief Crowfoot's statue here in the Alberta Legislature Rotunda reminds us that in Alberta, we all live on and benefit from treaty land. He also reminds us of the incredibly complicated histories of the treaties. These treaties helped with the foundation of very important institutions, like our very own government system. They also allowed many settlers, including our own ancestors, to make homes here in the province of Alberta. But of course, this was at the expense of the languages, cultures, traditional ways of being, and lives of many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. There is work being done to reconcile these histories and make living in Canada a more equitable place for everyone, including the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's 94 calls to action. To learn more about these initiatives, as well as the histories of the treaties, you can look them up online, or hopefully, you'll eventually be able to take a tour of the Alberta legislature from a heritage interpreter just like me. Now that we've looked at one of Alberta's prominent First Nations leaders, we're going to take a deeper look at the leader of Alberta's government system, the Premier.